Africa's most feared leaders. What makes a leader? What makes one say, this is truly the person we want? There are a lot of boxes that can be ticked in knowing the right person. Well, today we shall look at who we think are the most feared African leaders. We have combined a few from old days to current ones. The list is in no particular order. So, let's get it on, shall we? Robert Mugabe. When it comes to Robert Mugabe, most of us will agree with the Western media that he was one of the worst leaders in Africa. He is a hero for fighting against white domination in Zimbabwe. Consequently, the first black president is accused of grabbing land that previously belonged to the white settlers and awarding them to his close friends and allies. He was ousted from power in 2019 after a military coup d'etat. He passed on in 2019, but his cause of death was not disclosed. Teodoro Obiang. Teodoro Obiang is Africa's longest-serving leader. He has been president of one of West Africa's tiny oil-rich nation, Equatorial Guinea, since 1979 by overthrowing his uncle Francisco Marcius Nguema in a bloody coup d'etat. Obiang has declared himself king of this tiny oil-wealthy nation after recently appointing his beloved son as vice president, who is deemed to be his successor. Obiang and his family have mismanaged the country's assets while the poor people suffer. The vice president, who happens to be the first son of the president, spends millions of dollars on lavish lifestyles and has no conscience for his fellow Equatorial Guineans. Paul Biya. This third African leader is Paul Biya. Paul Biya of Cameroon is without a doubt one of the most dangerous dictators in Africa. He assumed office on November 6, 1982, and systematically consolidated power to a point where no opposition had a chance. To the outside world, Cameroon is democratic, but not to the average Cameroonian. There's nothing like democracy in Cameroon. Paul Biya eliminates his enemies in the dark and makes life hell for even the ones he forgives. He was 84 years old as of January 2018, but not ready to let go. He wants to die a president because to him, Cameroon is his and his alone. Idi Amin Dada. He rose to power through a military coup after ousting Milton Obote in 1971. Amin, who is born of a Kakwa father and a Lugbara mother, was part of the King's African Rifles as a lieutenant. After Uganda gained independence, he got a promotion to a major. Amin's rule was characterized by rampant human rights abuses, including political repression, ethnic persecution, and extrajudicial killings, as well as nepotism, corruption, and gross economic mismanagement. International observers and human rights groups estimate that between 100,000 and 500,000 people were killed under his regime. Amin was ousted in the year 1979 after a section of Ugandan rebels in conjunction with the Tanzanian army took over Kampala. This came after Idi Amin and his army took over the Kagera region of Tanzania, forcing the then President Julius Nyerere to order a military operation. Amin went to exile, first in Libya, then Iraq, and finally in Saudi Arabia, where he lived till his death in 2003. Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a Libyan revolutionary, politician, and political theorist. He was the de facto leader of Libya from 1969 to 2011. Having also risen using the means of a coup, Gaddafi was a symbol of leadership amongst his people. He continuously championed for the unity of Africa, calling for the greater political and economic integration across the continent and advocating the foundation of a United States of Africa. Gaddafi became one of the founders of the African Union, initiated in July 2002 to replace the OAU. He called for African states to reject conditional aid from the developed world, a direct contrast to the message of South African President Thabo Mbeki. He was ousted in 2011 after a civil war engulfed Libya. Now, before we get to our last leader, Have you subscribed? Well, here are a few seconds to let you do so. Our last leader who is thought to be feared is Omar al-Bashir of Sudan. He is the immediate former leader of Sudan as of 2022. He served as the 7th head of state from 1989 until 2019 when he was deposed in a coup d'etat. He was elected 3 times as president in elections that have been under scrutiny for electoral fraud. Al-Bashir's government negotiated an end to the Second Sudanese Civil War, leading to a referendum in the south, resulting in the separation, hence the creation of the country of South Sudan. Al-Bashir became the first sitting head of state to be indicted by the International Criminal Court, ICC, for allegedly directing a campaign of mass killing, rape, and pillage against civilians in Darfur. On 11 February 2020, the Sudanese government announced that it had agreed to hand over al-Bashir to the ICC for trial. There you have it, 6 of the most feared leaders in Africa. Feel free to drop us your feedback in the comment section, telling us who you feel are some of the most feared leaders. For more amazing topics, subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so as not to miss any of such dope content. Well, till next time.